are open and the show is underway here at Integrated Systems Europe in Barcelona.
The show floor is packed as the Pro AV community gathers for the 20th edition. I think we're live. Let's do it.
Doors are open and the show is underway here at Integrated Systems Europe in Barcelona.
The show floor is packed as the Pro AV community gathers for the 20th edition of ISE.
And we're so glad you can join us on AVIXA TV as we bring you live coverage of the largest Pro AV event.
Wherever you're watching in the world, thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy AVIXA TV live from ISE.
And welcome back to AVIXA TV live from ISE right here in the gorgeous city of Barcelona. We've got another incredible lineup of interviews, videos, and insights from today's industry leaders who promise to keep you on the pulse of the latest AV trends. I am your host, Samantha Powell.
And I'm Ben Barnard, and it's my pleasure to welcome you back for episode 2 of AVIXA TV live from ISE. Now, Sam, the vibe feels different today. It feels different, the energy around us. It must be because the show is finally open. How have you found the first day?
Oh my gosh, first off, trying to find where everything is, that takes a little bit of time, but it's just so exciting. Everybody is just here, like the floors are buzzing, all of the booths are completed. It's just been a whirlwind of just excitement and just going from booth to booth and meeting new people. I love it. I love it. What about you? What are your thoughts so far?
It's, as I said yesterday, it's one of those things where, you know, it feels like so much has happened. It was only a year ago we were here, but so much has happened, and we've got this whole week to discuss that and see what's going to be, happening for the rest of the week. So really excited. So good stuff. Kicking off today's show, we're thrilled to be joined by Alberto and Samuel from Matrox. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
How are you doing? How are you doing?
Very good. Yourselves?
Fabulous, fabulous.
I think, it's going well. How's the first day of the show been for you?
So far, so good. It's been great. Great to see, obviously, the crowds, and we're launching some new products here at the show, so always very exciting to be here at ISE.
Wonderful. So I am the AV newbie. I know we've had a few conversations, but I'm learning a lot, and this is obviously a great show to be at to learn so much about the AV world. So I keep hearing all of these things about 2110. I don't want to pretend like I know everything about it. Can you school me and maybe some of our viewers who aren't really sure, like, what is this technology?
Well, it's basically a new IP format of protocol, I should say, that is being used to basically go from the traditional baseband technologies that we used to, such as HDMI or SDI that's been used often in the broadcast world, and basically using new IP technologies to be able to build, bigger setups. We use a lot of IT technologies that are out there, or IT switches that the world is, that the IP world or IT world has been using. So it's an open standard, been pushed by the SMPTE community, and that's one of the things that we've been really supporting, because it is an open standard, and Matrox is a strong believer in supporting open standards. So people can interop easily, customers can pick best in breed, and that's what SMPTE 2110 brings to the table.
Interesting.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, I mean, you've been long known for graphics cards at Matrox, but at its heart, Matrox is an engineering company, essentially. And can you share any success stories or case studies where Matrox's solutions based on 2110 have made a signitiving impact on the customer production? So,
yes, Matrox has been well known for graphics cards, and even when we were developing graphics cards, we always developed different types of products. So we were making video encoders and decoders, KVM, and we also were making SDI video I/O cards for the broadcast community. And when 2110 started, Matrox jumped on it right away at the early days of this new IP format, and have started developing products into the market. And one big project that we're very proud of is something probably you've heard of, this big round ball in Las Vegas called the Sphere.
Yeah, I think you might have heard of it.
Heard of something like that.
So this is like it's a state-of-the-art building. Okay, it has the latest technology in terms of not just the screens, which are 16K by 16K, the highest end audio, but the whole setup is based on 2110 in terms of networking. So we worked with a company called Fuse Technology Group, which got commissioned to be able to do the live production for whoever's playing in the Sphere at the moment. And they basically chose our technology to be able to take the content that is playing on media servers to put it onto the network. Okay, so this is where our converters called Convert IP came in, which support this 2110 format. And also they were using our technology, our KVMs, to be able to control the live production remotely while they're at the control desk. So it's been a great, exciting setup. It's state of the art, it's bleeding edge, and we've really enjoyed the relationship with Fuse Technology so far.
And I imagine that project that you're referring to there is a kind of a real test of the technology, because there must be tons of kind of like networked devices that are working with that 2110. That's actually a real test of the capability of the technology, right?
Correct, yes. It's been a great experience. It's really, like I said, state of the art from A to Z, and it really helped test our products and really allowed us to really push it to the limit. So we're very proud to be involved in that project.
Excellent. I think we should ask Samuel a question as well, because
Yes.
he's trying to get away without saying anything. So,
You won't get away with it here. So I understand that there's definitely an increasing demand for remote production and distributed workflows. So how does Matrox adapt its product roadmap to meet those evolving industry needs?
Well, the industry is after very intuitive things. They want their stuff to work. They want to be able to mix and match the things that they need. If they have some productions that they want to mix with their AV signal management or their enterprise collaboration tools like Zoom and Teams, they're looking for the technologies and tools that will make them achieve those goals as easily and reliably and as cost affordably as possible. So we've been supporting those efforts by channels and customers by introducing products and developer tools to support as many of those workflows as possible. We have some of our elements that are used in live production, some that are used in AV signal management, and some that are used in recording, and some that are used for enterprise tools at very low bit rates for the internet and for cloud and streaming.
mm-hmm. Fantastic. And in terms of scalability and flexibility, how does Matrox's product roadmap cater to the needs of both sort of small scale and large scale broadcasters adopting 2110?
So broadcasters have very specific requirements. Broadcasters, when they're supporting a large network, they want synchronization of all of the equipment on their network. The cameras, the production equipment, the whole facility is synchronized. SMPTE 2110 is the standard for synchronization at scale. What we've been supporting recently is the continuation of standards that are building upon that to add flexibility for other types of organizations. Mm-hmm. So the VSF introduced a series of open specifications called TR10. This is commonly known as IPMX. Mm-hmm. Those continuation standards that build on 2110 add a lot of additional elements. The ability to support automated signals like HDMI that have, the ability to resolve resolutions between a source like a PC and a display. Yeah. The ability to handle more types of content than just the broadcast resolutions that are 16 by 9. Yeah. So the AV market needs a lot more flexible content types, a lot more flexible content signals, and a lot easier methods to connect professional equipment to enterprise equipment and to mainstream equipment, and IPMX addresses that, and Matrox has been building products to support those things.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Awesome. So we're seeing 2110 really blow up in the broadcast industry. So can you speak a little to the significance of that and how it's revolutionized video production?
Well, yes, of course, 2110 is really starting to take off on the broadcast. All new broadcast facilities are all being wired up using 2110 and 25 gig technology. But like Sam said, Matrox has been at the forefront and heavily involved in specifying sort of the cousin of 2110, which is referred to IPMX, which handles different requirements that the AV industry really needs, and both in distributing content or even in some of the AV type productions that enterprise companies or universities or government type broadcast centers need to put together. So Matrox has been in the forefront of that to help enable being able to use IPMX to distribute their content, and it's compatible with 2110. So if they want to have a 2110 for a higher uncompressed content, you're often using 2110. If you need to then distribute the content, you're using less bandwidth, and that's where IPMX comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. And what specific challenges does sort of 2110 and working with IPMX as well address in terms of IP-based video workflows? I know we've sort of touched on a little bit, but and also how does Matrox kind of contribute to overcoming those challenges?
Yeah, so 2110, again, is really designed for synchronization at scale, but it was built for the broadcast industry. So what broadcasters wanted was the ability to migrate SDI specifically to an IP-based solution.
Right.
And SMPTE 2110 covers the video, audio, and ancillary information functioning just like SDI, but in an IP format.
Mm-hmm.
IPMX adds the flexibility of different types of networking, not only a synchronized network. With IPMX, you can put IPMX devices on a 2110 network, and they will behave like a 2110 product. They will synchronize to the PTP of a 2110 network and continue that support and that compatibility. There's also the option to use IPMX in a very cool way. This is what we call the party without the hangover. So there are some markets that they require synchronization, but they want to build something a little bit more cost-effective and simpler. So with IPMX, you can achieve an AV synchronized network of lots of devices, but in a different way than SMPTE 2110. You can achieve the synchronization where the intelligence for the synchronization is in the endpoints and doesn't rely on specialized switching equipment to distribute that synchronization information. Mm-hmm. And another option that exists with IPMX is to use no synchronization at all. There's a lot of applications in AV that you don't need PTP, so digital signage and control rooms and so many areas. So IPMX also supports this option. So, you know, Matrox has diligently read all of these standards, all of these specifications. A lot of work, a lot of paper, and we've diligently implemented those things into our products. And we have support for all of the different formats and all of the different rules of how to behave on networks, and are trying our best to be interoperable with as many companies implementing the standards as well.
Yeah, so that's our big interest, is that number one, it's a standard, so it's open, customers can pick best in breed, and not only, because 2110 really focuses on 10 gig networks and up, 10 gig, 25 gig, 100 gig, but IPMX allows customers to use their 1 gig networks, and that's another big thing that interested us in supporting and getting behind IPMX and participating heavily in the specifications of IPMX.
Absolutely, and I guess the most important question of all, if people want to find out more, where can they find you here at ISE?
Well, of course, they could go check us out at our website, of course, at matrox.com, but here at the show, we welcome everybody at our booth, and it's located in Hall 5, 5D 500 is our booth.
Good. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. I learned a lot, so I'll be stopping by your booth and asking you to repeat some of this.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you
Great
again.
stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. So AVIXA TV not only brings you these fabulous live shows from ISE and other industry events, but it's also the place to learn about unique AV experiences around the globe. So let's take a look at an episode of how they do that, which you can also find at AVIXA TV, of the Mirador Torre Gloria. See how I did that?
That's perfect.
I tried.
Incredible.
In a town that's known for spectacular architecture, it can be hard to stand out. But when the Mirador Torre Glorias opened in 2005, it quickly established the presence in the Barcelona skyline.
You may know this building for the colorful show it puts on at night, but it's the AV on the inside that's going to change how you view this city.
The aim of the Mirador is to invite visitors not only to go to the top of the tower, it's also to invite them to visit a space where they, through different artistic installations, they can see another side of the city, understanding that the city is a huge ecosystem in which there are many different elements interrelated, and all of them have an impact to each other.
To take in the expansive views at the top of the Mirador Torre Glories, the journey actually begins underground. Here, a series of multisensory exhibits encourages visitors to consider the ecosystems that make up this seaside metropolis.
Everything that you see and you hear happens on real time, depending on the data that we gather via API. There is an installation that we can hear, but we don't see, that it's called a sirena, a siren. And this is an autogenerative living soundtrack that it's created depending on the variables that are taking place in real time outside the tower in the city. And it's a music that you will hear only once, never more, because these variables will not take place again at the same time. The next installation, it's called Atmospheres, and in that case, it's an invitation to look the elements that makes the city. Here, in a very wide screen, 26 meters wide screen.
Here we're taking a look to the dimensions of the city that are not tied to the urban grid. So we're talking here about soundscapes or wind or the sea or deep sky objects.
We have a representation of the wind, and then you can see like a fabric, a silky fabric that moves around, and then depending on the wind, this fabric changes the movement, changes the rhythm, changes the colors. Everything changed depending on this data that we are getting on real time.
These atmospheric shifts are felt in massive scale. Uncompressed, high-resolution video generated by a custom media engine is blended seamlessly by 5 Panasonic projectors. And over 40 Dante audio inputs are networked together to create a fully immersive sonic experience. After those big picture views, we move into the details of the city. Rhythms projects data-driven images through 2 translucent screens and an opaque backdrop, creating a holographic effect. The narration is produced by artificial intelligence, providing real-time updates to Barcelona's living conditions.
Once you have been invited to enjoy these experiences of contrast, once you are in the top of the tower in floor number 30, you have the views of Barcelona, and then you have the maximum analogic experience. We have this amazing and fantastic sculpture called Cloud Cities Barcelona by the artist Tomás Saraceno, and it's a walkable sculpture in which you can get in and walk inside.
This final interactive piece was just too much to resist, and even though I'm afraid of heights, I had to climb inside. From way up there, you can really see how the Mirador experience changes your view of Barcelona.
This is the project of my life because it really makes a difference in many different terms. It's a contribution to the city because I'm from Barcelona and I feel and I love my city. And to have the chance to get for the city this building, it's amazing. It's something magic that through technology, through artistic devices and so on, to create this message that once you visit this, once you get out, you keep it with you. It makes an effect on you.
You may know this building.
All right, so I don't know if you're scared of heights or not, but do you want to go and check that out with me?
I mean, I may need someone to hold my hand. I'm not going to lie, but it was, I mean, what an incredible video. That was fantastic.
It was wonderful. So we'll blindfold you, we'll get you up there, and we'll check it out. So now we have the wonderful opportunity to speak with a woman who is really affecting change in live music. So I'd like to introduce Malle Kaas. So Malle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, so I read a little bit about you and women in live music, but can you tell enlighten me and our audience as well, and just share a little bit of background about your organization and what influenced you to create it.
Well, Women in Live Music is a European organization that has been around for 6 years, and it's a organization that represents women working backstage in production, logistic, and technical. Like myself, I'm a live sound engineer. So everybody who works at a concert, that would be our target group.
Fantastic. And how did your career in AV as a general industry, how did that begin?
Oh, I'm actually not really AV.
I'm more for the audio thing.
Yeah, I'm more for the touring and festival industry. But of course, as a sound engineer, I do all kinds of jobs. That means I also do work in the AV industry. So it's like we cross paths now and then,
For sure. So how did that start? How did
that start?
Career, yeah.
Well, it started already in the mid-90s. Well, actually, since I was a little kid, I wanted to do something with, engineering and music. So what's more, naturally than being a sound engineer. So then, in the mid-90s, I started out as a sound engineer.
And was that something that you studied to do, or did it
I'm
practical
autodidact.
experience? And all
I'm
that?
autodidact. And actually, I started out as a sound tech because I was convinced that I could not mix, because I didn't see any other women do it. I only saw big guys doing, and I'm not a big guy, so I was convinced that I could not do it. After some years as a sound tech, and I was really good at my job, I did decide to quit, and I became a nurse anesthetist, and I was living that normal life for a lot of years until I discovered that, oh my God, sound is my true passion. I need to go back, but if I can keep people alive in the hospital, I can also mix a show. So in 2015, I went back to the industry and I started mixing, and nobody would ever get me away from that mixing board again.
Glad to hear it.
And I know in so many other industries, including ours, with women trying to grow in our careers, there's usually some aspect of mentorship and even networking with our peers and other women. What can you say about mentorship and networking and helping women advance in the live music field? How does your program help facilitate that?
Well, first of all, by being a community, because belonging to a minority in the industry and at the same time belonging to a community means everything. That makes you stay in this industry, because you're not alone. Because as a woman, you will be often stigmatized because you're the only woman. Everybody will be watching every step that you're making. They'll be watching exactly how you're doing it. And often women only get like one chance. I hear so often in the industry, we tried it once with a woman and it didn't work out. So a community that you can fall back into and where you can cry out or you can get advice and support means everything to women in the industry. And that's why Women in Live Music is there. Mentorship is another part, because having someone that you can reach out to by mail or by phone or on the gig will often save your life, so to speak, because 80% of the women in the industry, all across, 80% suffers from imposter syndrome to a degree where they're actually thinking about leaving the industry. So having a mentor that you can reach out to is so essential.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier as well that, the thing that sort of, thankfully it didn't cut your whole career short in total, but it sort of delayed your career, was the lack of representation. You didn't see any other women doing the job you wanted to do. It was all big guys and you didn't feel kind of represented. What are the key contributing factors to underrepresentation, and how do you think they can be overcome in the live music industry?
Visibility, community networking, but also improvement of working skills. So what we do in Women in Live Music on a daily basis is that we organize workshops, seminars, and events for women to come and learn about their profession, whether it's about backlining or sound and light or tour management or whatever. So,
and I know we had briefly chatted about hidden harassment, and you were also talking about just a moment ago about how challenging it is in that industry, and people thinking women can't do the work. So what advice would you give aspiring women who want to get into the industry? What advice would you give them to tell them they can do that and pursue a career in this industry?
Well, first of all, I'll advise them to become a member of Women in Live Music, and I'll also advise the entire industry to go in and support Women in Live Music, because we cannot do this alone. That's one thing. So the second thing is, the advice I would give to the women is, don't quit. Don't give up. It's tough out there, but it's tough for everyone. But use your community to get back on the horse again. But actually, the real advice I want to give is to the guys out there. Because if they have a woman on the crew, give her a chance. And when you're giving her that chance, then give her a second chance. Because it's so often, and this is what hidden harassment is about. Like, let me give you a couple of examples. If a woman asks a question, she's kind of not that smart. If a guy asks the same question, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's interesting, let me just reply to that one. If a woman is making a mistake on a gig, she's most likely not asked back. If a guy does the same mistake, it's just like one of these things that can happen. That's hidden harassment. It's difficult to call out because it could be caused by the situation. It could also be maybe the chemistry wasn't right. Maybe that woman wasn't competent and qualified enough for the gig. Who knows? So that's hidden harassment. And we all need to keep an eye out for that and call it out when it happens.
Absolutely. And what are your hopes for the future of Women in Live?
The hope for the future is that all the companies that are represented here at the ISE would check in on Women in Live Music and support our cause, because we cannot do this alone. And we have a long way to go. We are looking at another 6 to 7 years before we raise from 5% in the industry to just about 10%. And I'm talking about having a sustainable number. Because yes, a lot of women are being introduced to the industry, but they're not staying in the industry. And we need to join forces to make the women stay in the industry.
Absolutely. Malle, thank you so much for joining us. By the way, have you seen the musical Six that's currently showing in London? Are you familiar with this musical? It's like a musical theatre.
No.
No. So it's the story of Henry VIII's 6 wives, and it's an all-female cast, an all-female band and back line as well. So it's an incredible example. Maybe it's something that Women in Live Music could use as an example or work with or something like that. It's a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm just going to say, like, hire a woman and you will probably have the best co-worker, because she cannot allow herself to fail. She knows she's not getting that second chance, and she has to be 3 times better than the guys. So get a girl out there.
Well, I'm fired up. So
Yeah,
I hope everybody
exactly.
goes and checks it out. Where can they find this information, your organization again?
Well, we're having a website, Women in Live Music. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, but we're also represented with a booth in the last hall, in Hall 7, all the way in the back, in the corner, right next to the coffee machine. And I don't know if you catch the irony of that. Right? But there we are, we're having a small booth. Come and meet us.
Hopefully next year will be front and centre, So that'd be great. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sharing your story. Thank
you.
Superb. So if you can believe it, we're already halfway through the show, and now we're going to take another dive into our How They Do That series. And as Mark explains in this episode, Diagonal 123 is a perfect example of what can be achieved when architects, interior designers and AV work closely together. Let's take a look.
Digital signage comes in all shapes and sizes. While some go big, others are more subtle, attempting to integrate with their surroundings.
The digital signage here at Diagonal 123 in Barcelona was inspired by the building's architecture and decor. It's a great example of what's possible when great design meets great creative.
Located just a few blocks from one of Barcelona's busiest plazas, Diagonal 123 is an office building with a massive cantilever high above the entrance. This structure provided the starting point when the design team began to make plans for the main lobby.
The landlord asked us for something very outstanding, like uncommon. So we start from the building identity and we design this L-shaped screen to imitate the L shape of the entrance. Also, the other very important focus point of the design is the green wall. So these stripes are follow the same pattern of the stripes of the facade. So it's also like an identity point of the building.
With the visual identity established, Carlos Delgado and the team from LED Dream began their work installing the digital signage.
But it's a 2.6 millimeters. It's a front service because as we don't have rear access or in the ceiling, we cannot access to the upper side. So everything is can be solved by the front side. So we remove by magnetic. We do the 90 degrees corner. We have to take care there because if you have to remove the LED modules, you have to take care to remove the piece. It's very important to do the 90 degrees corner perfectly.
As the installation continued, work began to develop the content for the screens. It was a collaborative effort to ensure that the physical and the digital would blend seamlessly together.
When we started the project, we were talking many hours with Priscilla. She was very worried about how will be this screen affecting the rest of the things that they are in the lobby. We try to decide which kind of contents can be the right ones.
We work together to design all these graphics to ensure that they were integrated in the design. For example, we work together on the colors used, on the contents.
You can spend a lot of money on your screen, but if you don't spend money on the contents, it won't be a success.
Colorful scenes from nature and urban landscapes from Barcelona allow the displays to shine. It's also customizable, with templates simple enough for anyone to use.
Another thing very important to try to make this display special is try to give information. The customer already has a very simple template where he can write a word, upload a picture, and then that will be built in a really nice video. This is an HTML5 template we made.
Diagonal 123 is another example of what happens when architects, interior designers, and AV work closely together.
It's not a huge project with different installations. It's a only huge project, but involves a lot of people. And I think this is one of the most important things for me, that it's a success made by all of us.
To check out more episodes of How'd They Do That, subscribe and follow us on social media. And if you know of an amazing AV experience we should feature, email us at video@avixa.org.
Now it's you have to pay, but in the past it was free. But it's working also.
Wow, pretty amazing, right?
Oh my gosh, like that was such a great video. Our team did a wonderful job, and just that building alone with the huge cantilever, it was just remarkable. I feel like that building has digital signage and everything. It's just the whole package. Absolutely, the whole thing. Great stuff. Right, yeah. Now, next we're joined by Stephen Nuttall, who is head of television for the America's Cup. Stephen has many years' experience in the sports, media and digital industries, and in 2011 he founded First Decide to help sports and entertainment businesses take advantage of the opportunities created by changes in the media industry driven by technological innovation. Stephen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Excellent. How has the show been for you so far?
Wow, it's impressive, isn't it? The size of the show is just amazing. I don't think I've had time. I could be here all week and you wouldn't get around all the halls. There's so many amazing things. I saw some fantastic video walls before, just like, and you still stood in front of it and thought, wow, it's like, it feels like you're actually there. So
yeah, I mean, many
really
years ago,
impressive.
ISE, it was only a 3-day show, and they added an extra day because people were saying they could barely get around it. So
yeah, I can believe that.
Maybe we
and
need
the
to add
crowds
another.
are pretty big as well. So
absolutely.
Well, let's get into our interview. I want to know about the America's Cup. I am a complete sports enthusiast. Maybe American football, probably my number one. But I'm not really familiar with the America's Cup. Can you share with me and our audience at home who's watching and listening, what is that? What does the sport entail?
So the America's Cup is a sailing regatta. It's held every 4 years. It's the oldest. you try and win the oldest trophy in international sports. Sorry, I'll try and say that as a sentence. So the America's Cup's been competed for since 1851. It's only ever been won by 4 countries in that time. So it's about the hardest sports event you could possibly win. And I think the reason it's an incredibly hard event to win is that it takes in a huge amount of technological innovation to create a boat that can now go at 100 kilometers an hour across the water. You need a team of north of 100 people on every team, so all the engineers and the boat builders, the shore crew, the sailors on the boats. It takes a village to win the America's Cup, and it's also incredibly challenging. We've got 6 competitors will be here in Barcelona this year trying to win the race. So we have the Kiwis defending it, the Americans, the French, the Swiss, the Brits, and the Italians. So you've got a fantastic competition between the world's best sailors, the world's best boat designers, to see who's got the fastest boat, who's got the best sailing team, and who can win that trophy that some people have spent their entire lives in pursuit of. So I don't know if that sort of whetted your appetite a little bit, but hopefully it has.
It does.
And if you're in Barcelona, the other thing I would say is it's an amazing spectacle. It's going to be an amazing spectacle. So
I'm not a swimmer, so I don't think this one's for me, but I'm a great spectator. Very interested.
I imagine you're right in the midst of the final planning for the 2024 America's Cup. How's that all going, and when's the big day?
So the event starts here in Barcelona 22nd of August. There's the final preliminary regatta. That'll be the first time that all the boats race against each other across, of course, the weekend. And then the competition gets going the following week with a challenger selection series where the 5 challengers all race against each other to see who's brought the fastest boat and the fastest team. And whoever wins the challenger selection series, whoever wins the Louis Vuitton Cup, ends up going into the match, which is the finale of the America's Cup itself. They will race the defender, Team New Zealand, and someone will emerge victorious. And when you win the America's Cup, you get to organise the next one. So you get to set the rules for the next competition. You become the trustee of the America's Cup competition.
Oh wow! So it's quite a unique format there, not just in the way it's competed for, but also the way the rules are set and everything like that at the end.
Yeah. So imagine if let's say Patrick Mahomes is successful in a couple of weeks' time.
Yes.
In the Super Bowl.
He helped me fantasy-wise a little this year.
So if that team would end up organising the NFL the next season. So if you think about it, so in Formula One, it's Red Bull wins the Formula One World Championship. They'd organise the next season of F1. In the America's Cup, whoever wins organises the next event.
So that's incredible. So, are there any kind of things that you can't say, you can't stipulate in the organisation of it, kind of the rules, the regulations? I presume there are parameters you have to work in.
There are some parameters that you have to work within, but not too many, to be honest. So the thing about that is that because you get this significant change from defender to defender, cycle to cycle, a competition that's been competed for since 1851 is a start-up every single time it gets going. And that means you get these huge leaps forward in technology that would be very difficult to deliver in a more traditional sporting environment. And I think that's one of the things that's allowed this oldest international sporting competition to remain relevant right through till today.
For sure.
I mean, the only thing you have to do is when you set the rules and you organise a competition, you have to make sure it's sufficiently attractive that someone else enters to compete against you.
That's true.
And that's all that you really have to do to stage the show and stage the spectacle.
I mean, the event itself sounds just so interesting, and I'm just enthralled at the actual event itself, but we are here at ISE, so I'd love to hear, how is AV incorporated into this race?
So technology is part of it's one of the essential features of the coverage of the America's Cup. We put 12 cameras onto each boat. There will be 6 boats racing on any given day. We have 2 helicopter cameras, we have 2 chase boat cameras, we have cameras on every single team chase boat that's following every race. So I did the calculation before, and we worked out we'll have on any given day in Barcelona there'll be more than 80 cameras out on the water. We're producing everything in 4K and HDR, and everything is wireless for us. So it's a huge technical challenge to do all of that. In addition, we put microphones on all the sailors so you can hear the crew even though they're going at maybe 100 kilometers an hour, you've got to be able to hear the voices of the crew, hear what they're talking about. And if you ever put your head out the car window at 100 kilometers an hour, there's like quite a lot of wind, right?
Yes.
So that's quite a challenge, to create a surround sound environment that works on every boat as they're racing with the ambient wind and the conditions and the spray. It's phenomenally hard. And then we also try and work out the position of every boat to millimeter accuracy in 6 dimensions, because we produce all the data that's used for umpiring purposes.
That's incredible, and I suppose the other thing that's really quite unique about that situation when you're producing it is that whilst you may have, you referenced Formula One earlier, whilst you may have remote cameras, wireless cameras on the cars, the rest of the broadcast is happening in a stadium, in a grandstand, and everything's there. Your stadium is effectively floating and it's moving the pitch, if you like. And I mean, you know, you're creating the virtual race box amongst other things, and essentially you're creating a virtual stadium. I mean, what are the challenges and solutions there?
Yes, so as you rightly say, the thing about the America's Cup is it's powered by the wind and you can't see the wind.
Yeah.
And the water moves, and it's not flat. It's not like a tennis court where every blade of grass is a millimeter perfection.
Of course, yeah.
Water surface is constantly changing, so it's really hard. We need to use graphics to create a virtual stadium around the racecourse, because that's one of the ways of making viewers understand what's really happening, where the field of play is. It's just it's a basic concept in a stadium, but on the open water, really difficult to do that. And then we have to put graphics on the screen, overlaid in AR. You can see an example here, which we use to determine the position of all of the boats. And when we do that, we use artificial intelligence to, we literally have a machine learning system that watches the coverage and then infers the position of every boat from what it sees coming back from the cameras, which has never been done before.
That is so exciting. All right, so for our audience listening and watching at home, and if you have a need for speed, you've definitely tuned into the right segment, I would say. So Stephen, you've provided us with a short video that definitely left me on the edge of my seat. So can you tell us a little bit about what we're about to see here with the Land of Speed
Sure.
video?
So Land of Speed is something that is a film that we created about a year ago, and it tells the story of how the engineers and designers at Team New Zealand set about harnessing the power of the wind, not on the ocean, but on the land. They decided to see how fast can you possibly go powered only by the wind. So they spent 10 months designing a land speed racer, which is here at the ISE show as well, not too far away from us in the hall, and it achieved over 226 kilometers an hour powered only by the wind. So 226 kilometers an hour. They took it to a dried out salt bed in Lake Gardner in Australia, a very remote location, but we had to go quite a long way away to find somewhere big enough to be racing this thing at 226 kilometers an hour. And the film, there's a full-length documentary of the film which you can download. It's been shown on TV quite a lot of places, and there's also a trailer, which I think is what we're going to show now.
Well, I'm excited to see it. I don't think I can go that fast in it, so I'll just watch this video and pretend and put myself in there.
Sure.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and let's take a look right now at that video.
Bearing away in 3, 2, 1, here we go.
My mission is a really simple one. It's just to be the fastest human on the planet, powered by the wind. I've always wondered, how fast can you go? Where does it end? And I want to find out where it does end.
He's high, go.
I think the thing that scares me probably the most is failure.
177, can't go much faster.
It's not crashing and burning, it's not hurting myself, it's just failing.
We're very, very close. And then that's it. It's shutting down at the end of the month.
Yeah, it's pretty shit, really. Sorry, boys. A lot of people behind this project want to see me come out the other end in one piece, but If I don't push hard enough and I back off, we're not going to break the record.
It's a little bit out there, but in crazy we believe.
Hopefully about to be the world's fastest GPS unit.
And she's all done.
This is not a backyard operation.
Okay, happy boys?
We're going to do it full on, and we're going to push boundaries that have never been pushed before. And I won't stop until we're successful. The stakes are massively high.
Slippery there.
This is sort of the culmination of my 45 years on the planet. It's got to be good.
Got something going wrong here.
Oh, something's wrong.
Rolling.
Here we are.
Wow. I mean, I used the Drive to Survive documentary to get me into Formula One. I think just from that trailer there, I may be an America's Cup fan now.
I think I am completely, so I need to still see that other one that you were just discussing, but that was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. So next we're going to be discussing all things virtual production, and joining us to lend their expertise, we have Stacia Pfeiffer from Pixelmondo, we have Matt Morgan from Ross Video, and Andy Hook from D&B Audio Technic. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
So, how's the show been for you so far? Have you managed to get out there and have a look?
Not yet. This is day one, so very much looking forward to the next couple of days and seeing.
I can't believe it's 5 o'clock already. Where's today gone? So I think Friday morning I might get to see some of the show if I'm lucky.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? Matt, how about you? Have you managed to look around?
Not at all. It's been pretty busy. We're back in the other hall, and we've had a pretty constant flow of people. So this is my first time breaking out.
Yeah, fantastic. So, I mean, I'm sure virtual production has many arenas. Could you give us an idea of the areas that each of you specialise in? Stacia, if we can start with you.
I work in virtual production. I project manage large installations, stage builds, and I've been working with engineers and technologists to spec hardware and software systems.
And you have some experience in film as well, film production and that kind of thing?
Yes, I've also worked on set in film and TV as a virtual production producer.
Fantastic. How about you, Andy?
We created the world's first XR stage back in 2017, 2018 for the Winter Olympics, and then basically we've been on a journey ever since then in like productizing the solution, and we've moved quite a lot now out of the broadcast market into the corporate and education space, and anybody that's becoming a broadcaster using this technology.
Great stuff. And Matt?
Yeah, so I work with corporate customers all over the globe, so anyone from Silicon Valley to big tech, retail, insurance, banking, all those people in different live environments and also studio environments within that context of the corporate world.
Good stuff.
And those are great areas that you all specialize in. So for those who may not know about each of those specialties, can you share a little bit about what are the key technologies that are involved in virtual production with our audience?
So we work primarily with large volumes and medium volumes, not as much with mobile stages or site-specific installation, although that is something that we're seeing more of a need for. We work with large-scale LED installation, and you'll see a number of vendors here, such as Aoto, Rowe, and Sony, who we work with.
And in contrast, actually, we tend to focus more on the smaller volumes. So as opposed to the virtual production and film world that is all at scale and building real sets inside these volumes, we're looking at smaller spaces where they're being used for presentation or corporate and education use, remote teaching, things like that. So we actually focus much more on higher resolution volumes because you really need to see the detail in the quality in the content as a presenter, but also things like camera robotics and image-based lighting and control systems and things that are making it like as easy to use as possible rather than having a full complement of crew on site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very similarly, we focus on smaller studio spaces or event spaces that and virtual comes into play in a way that takes them out of that environment. So you want to create a different environment for multiple needs. So a lot of customers will want to use it for social media. So they'll have maybe a more modern set, and then they want to be in a maybe a a real new agey looking studio, and so then we can put them in a new age studio. So different things like that, whatever their context is, different customers within the same company can use the space. So we look for ways to be flexible and deliver those different environments then without having to have multiple physical locations, if you will. So.
Right, and I mean, I'm always also quite keen to do a bit of jargon busting on this show, so whenever something comes up that I don't understand, and I was lucky enough to see a presentation by Sarah Cox, who I gather, Andy, you know, it was at a Navy User Group presentation in London, and she started talking about volumes. You've both mentioned that so far. What's a volume in this context?
A volume would be a space that you can fill, and we would say that is on a sound stage, that is a number of panels that you are building in a spherical or J-shaped format inside of a soundstage.
Yeah, well, any environment that's constructed of LED that allows you to immerse people inside it for immersive production. And quite often you'll see different size shapes to suit the production. It may have a floor, it may have a ceiling, it may just be a wall, it may be a combination of all of those. It may have what we call wild walls in the front that are used for reflections. That's the volume. It's the thing that you're producing the content inside.
Excellent. So there you go. For all the viewers at home, if you ever wondered what a volume is in this context, that's what it is. So, Matt, virtual production's presence at shows like ISE has grown quite rapidly in the last 2 or 3 years. What's this evolution been like for you as someone who's working in this field?
Yeah, like I said before, it's the need for customers that have a confined space but want to get out of that space and more flexible uses of a space is where I'm seeing a lot more of them investing in this virtual production and immersive technology. So like we have a company that's out west on the west coast of the States, and they make their own devices, things like that. So the way they have like 70 business units within their company, right? So there's a lot happening. They make their own designs, their own products, and they want to celebrate those together. So they have a big intro where, you know, when you're in this virtual space, you don't need a jib necessarily. You can augment that to swoop in, and they have their whole intro segment. And then they can show the newest products that they're working on and celebrate that together and show what it does, the intricacies, and zoom in on it, right? So I think that's what's really driving a lot of this. They want to know what's happening within their company. Other teams want to know. It drives each other to do better, to celebrate together when they do make those wins, get it across the finish line from ideation to implementation of things. So it's all these different kind of things coming together to make to deliver an audience a message that kind of does more than just a presentation, if you will. So it really immerses them in it.
And Stacia, with virtual production, you know, now we're able to have even more creative and more imaginative, you know, projects, you know, being made. So how does virtual production expand that creative possibility of our storytellers and filmmakers?
Well, you have a lot of opportunity to reach locations that you might not be able to otherwise get to. That's a big one for crews. Instead of flying 30 people around the world to an exotic location, you can now shoot that in whatever city you're basing your production out of, which saves an incredible amount of time and enables indie filmmakers also to perhaps explore locations they might not have otherwise been able to shoot in. For example, the Eiffel Tower or historic monuments. And this is perhaps an untapped use case for virtual production, where I'm hoping in the next few years we're going to see more indie films taking advantage of the tools as well.
And Andy, I know that in virtual production it sort of uses a lot of different technologies, bringing it all together. You know, you've got LED cameras, screens, lighting, gaming engines, that kind of stuff. Do you ever find that there's a bit of a gap in knowledge in terms of learning how to sort of like those technologies kind of work cohesively?
The great skills gap. I mean, it's a big challenge for us all in all sectors of AV, right? But particularly, I guess, in the virtual production space, because you're using sometimes bleeding edge technologies, right? And it's those skill sets that, where do you go to learn them? We're seeing this massive uptake in educational institutions having VP volumes, having access to this kit, which is great. But what if you're not on one of those courses? Like, how do you even understand this tech and get into it? So we're building a space in central London to try and do outreach. I know there's a lot of other companies doing similar things, but it takes us all to really get on board with. and making the barrier to entry lower, giving people chances to come and play with these bits of tech. So it's difficult, but I think we're making steps forward. I think we are getting there slowly.
Yeah, for sure. Whereabouts is that facility that you're building in London? Because it may be one that we can send the guys for the how they do that
grand
series.
reveal, but it's going to be in the Science Museum in central London, opening at the end of February.
Is that an exclusive
That
reveal?
is exclusive of AVIXA. We're launching a new immersive technologies experience centre.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, we definitely have to get down to that.
Oh yes, please count me in. So this question I will open up to all three of you. So how does virtual production integrate with traditional filmmaking techniques, and are you seeing that there's any challenges when trying to do that integration between virtual production and more working on traditional sets?
I've got a quick one. I'll just say one thing we saw with virtual production is a large amount of hardware coming over from the broadcast industry, which will perhaps be of interest to our AVIXA and ISE audience. I don't know what you guys could add to that, but I think there was a large learning gap to integrate broadcast technology and real-time production into traditional film crews.
And I think it's the other way around, where we're seeing this broadcast AV convergence, particularly in the corporate and education spaces. But the thing that falls through the cracks quite often is content. Right? These things only work when the content's good, and people are quite often used to outsourcing content production to an agency and getting a file and playing that file back. And now we live in a world where that content needs to be built in a game engine, and learning that whole workflow is very different for a lot of clients.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. I think, and it's really both sides of it. So it's really just finding that gap in closing it, being accessible to people to learn more, to be able to know what it's capable of and learn the standards of how AV and IT 15 years ago was coming together, and now AV, IT, and broadcast are all coming together. So we're in this new exciting time of kind of seeing this next emerging kind of solution. So it's a cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we have tons more questions for you, but as I say, time flies when you're having fun. We've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us, and Andy, I hope we're not going to cause you any jeopardy in your job for revealing that top secret information.
I'm waiting for the marketing team.
We won't tell anyone. We won't say anything.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Well, Ben, I think we've come to the end of our show.
I can't believe it already.
It happened way too fast. Well, we get to do it again tomorrow.
Yes,
so
that's the good news.
Why don't we go ahead and look at what we've got coming up tomorrow? So on tomorrow's show, we'll be talking with Sam Sabet with Shure to talk about some of the latest technologies that's driving the AV industry. Then we'll be speaking with Martin Saul with ICAP Global to discuss the European and Latin American AV Summit taking place at ISE. Following that, we'll have our sustainability panel to share ways AV and IT industries can look towards creating initiatives to meet the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. And finally, we'll wrap up tomorrow's show with AVIXA's very own market intelligence team to discuss the state of the economy and look ahead to the future to see what our industry might have in store for 2024 and beyond.
Well, tomorrow is traditionally the busiest day of the show. I can't imagine it being much busier than today.
More than this?
Yeah, seriously.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I will definitely get here early, and I'm so excited. This is great. We've conquered our second show.
We have, and thanks so much to all of our guests. Thank you to you, Sam, for being such an amazing co-host.
Same to you.
Yeah, I can't wait to do it all again tomorrow.
Absolutely, and thank you everyone for watching AVIXA TV live from ISE.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
What's next in wireless? Meet the Shure Microflex Wireless Next 2. It's a snap to set up, and it's perfect for all your spaces, like this, and yeah, even that. And with a variety of available mics, everyone can hear and be heard. So what's next in wireless? The all-new, all-in-one MXW Next 2.
Yes, I'm standing here in front of the Ames booth where we're displaying many partners, almost a dozen partners that are showing interoperability between all of their IPMX solutions. This has been a great show, and we've generated a lot of interest with that kind of demo.
IPMX is the new standard for video over IP, an extension of the SMPTE 2110 standards.
The demonstration was able to tie together all of these elements on a large LED wall, which was powered by an LED wall processor that was ingesting the content from all of the networks and all of the devices on the networks natively as an IP input instead of a baseband HDMI or SDI input. Essentially what's been happening in this demonstration is the sharing of content between different network profiles, the sharing of content between brands, the sharing of content between hardware and software nodes, and demonstrate all of this on an LED wall capturing this entirely in IP.
In addition to our baseband standards of being able to handle DisplayPort, HDMI, and 12G SDI, we've now added the support for IPMX and SMPTE 2110.
For me, the real highlight of the show was really the level of traction and interest that we were able to generate this year. We've had a lot of manufacturers came to visit us, showed a great interest in this open standard solution that we're promoting, and we're very proud of the work that we've been able to achieve.